Hello everyone, it's Maya and I'm back with another video. Today I wanted to talk about 10 very simple study habits that help me and hopefully help you get into the zone and study efficiently and stay focused and produce the best work you possibly can. So the first habit, and probably the most difficult one to get used to, is facing your fears. Now by this I mean prioritizing your most intimidating task. So for me, I often find essays very intimidating and very easy to procrastinate. So any of those very intimidating or very off-putting tasks, you have to do them first, because after you do, you're just going to feel this huge weight lifted off your shoulders, and that will actually motivate you to keep studying all the other things that you'll enjoy. I know it's easier said than done, but I find that once I've just done the hardest thing first, everything else becomes a lot easier. And if you're thinking of not doing that and just leaving it till last minute, just know that the scary task is not going anywhere if you avoid it. And then after you've chosen the most intimidating task, then you're going to want to break it down. So by dividing a big task into lots of different checklist points or lots of different smaller tasks, that's just an easier way to get through it. For example, say I have an English speech to write. Instead of writing English speech or write English speech, which is a very intimidating and very big task, I will subdivide that task into choose quotes for speech, identify what theme I'm going to discuss in the speech, write introduction, write first paragraph. And I've seen a lot of evidence / I've seen a lot of people talk about how the actual physical act of crossing off tasks is very psychologically rewarding and motivating for your brain and yourself. So yeah, break down your tasks to make them less intimidating and to make them easier to achieve. Now, how you actually study them is what I'm going to discuss next. So the third habit, or the third method I like to use, is a very common one. It's called the Pomodoro Method. It is a way of timing your studies so that you do 25 minutes of studying straight, then you have a 5-minute break, 25 minutes study, 5-minute break, then you have a bigger break at the end. Recently, I found it especially effective because when you're giving yourself such a short time frame to study, you're going to put your full energy into it and your full focus. So in that way, you're kind of doing like a sprint, and then you can take a break. And you can find a lot of Pomodoro timers on YouTube, on the internet. I use an app on my laptop called Flow, and it's just a very simple app. It has all the timing customization, but yeah, the Pomodoro method is meant to be 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. The next habit is move. So personally, if I'm studying for a very long period of time, I get very agitated, I start fiddling, moving around, feeling very uncomfortable. I actually read this in the Make Time book. They say that to boost your energy before going into any task, it's always very good to move your body and get your heart pumping. So something as simple as doing 10 star jumps before you start studying, or just doing a little stretch. I personally find that after I've done exercise or worked out, that my ideas flow quicker, I feel more creative, I feel more focused after I've done it. You can even move in your 5-minute break if you're doing the Pomodoro method. Next, this one is very obvious, and that is hydration. Now, I highly recommend, and I think this is often overlooked, have a water bottle on your study desk. Firstly, if you're just using a cup, or if you don't have any water at your desk at all, you're going to constantly be going to the kitchen, going outside of your study space. And by doing that, you're more vulnerable to a lot of distractions out there. So just by having a water bottle in your study space, that instantly limits the amount of distractions you're going to have and just forces you to stay in your seat and not leave. The sixth habit is make your study space a phone-free zone. You've heard this before in every study lecture you've gotten. Don't have your phone anywhere near your study space, even in the room that you're studying. Put it outside, mute it, and that is definitely the number one distraction, I think, for every teenager, for every student, for anyone. Then the seventh habit is saying goodbye to the world. And by this I mean the simple act of just shutting your door when your study session starts. Because by doing this every time, you're kind of training yourself to associate closing the door with getting into kind of this study mindset. Similarly, if you are studying in a group with other people, like in a library, then you can also use noise cancelling headphones if you have. I personally don't listen to music. I know a lot of people do, and if that works for you, then you can obviously continue doing that. But the reason that I don't listen to music is because I don't want to train my brain to only get into the study zone with certain music on, because in an exam you're not going to have that. Now the 8th habit, this I've labeled the thought catcher, and this is also from the book Make Time. A lot of people, I'm sure, find that when you're studying you have these random thoughts come to your mind, right? And one of those random thoughts can take you down the biggest internet rabbit hole. But by having this thought catcher, and by the way, a thought catcher, pretty much just like have a sheet of paper next to you when you're studying. Whatever random thoughts come to your mind that you think are so important that you need to remember them, write it down and just save it for later. And then after your study session, you can research the hell out of whatever it is that you're thinking about. So all of the tips I've just mentioned are to be used before and during the study session. But now, during the 5-minute break, this is where tip 9 comes in, and that is to avoid infinity pools. Once again, this is from the book Make Time. An infinity pool is essentially any source of endlessly replenishing content. For example, Instagram, TikTok, social media of any sort, pretty much, where you can just scroll infinitely. So infinity pools are everywhere. Basically, the whole internet is an infinity pool, and they are really difficult to have self-control over. I find, especially for me, I have horrible self-control, I've mentioned before. So yeah, when you're doing the Pomodoro Method, these 5-minute breaks can seem either very long or very short. Now this is all up to you. If you're spending your 5-minute break on an infinity pool or on your phone, then it's gonna go by really quickly. However, and I have tried this before, if I'm literally just looking at the timer, if I'm just staring at it, it seems to go by so slowly. So you kind of have to find a balance between those two extremes, where you're having a healthy study break by doing things that are beneficial to you. Some examples of things that you can do include to get fresh air, to talk to people in your household, to go fill up your water bottle, as I mentioned before, to empty your bladder, to dance to a song, to do another stretch or like another 5-star jumps. And the final, the 10th study habit is to focus on input goals and not output goals. Output goals are the result. So in terms of academics, the output goal is the mark. Now, within high school, it's very easy to be very focused on what mark you're getting. I want to get above this mark, I want to get above this mark. But the main feature of an output goal is that it is out of your control. So if you're constantly working towards something that is out of your control, you're going to naturally be disappointed if you don't get there, and you're not going to want to keep studying hard or putting in the effort to actually obtain the output goal. If you do achieve an output goal, it also ends once you've achieved it. Say, for example, you want to get a 90 in maths, you put in all this effort this one time to get a 90 in maths, you get it. What happens when you get it? Are you going to do the same amount of studying again, or are you just going to burn out because you've already achieved the mark? It's focusing on output goals is good short term, but it's very much not sustainable in the long term. And then input goals are in your control. Your efforts, the stuff that you put into the work. So if you put all your energy and all your hard work and all your dedication into your input goals, your output goal is going to naturally improve. I think that's something that students really need to focus on, is to focus on what you're doing and how you can change your habits and your systems, rather than focusing on attaining these specific marks, all that sort of stuff. So those are the 10 study habits that I find are particularly simple and particularly useful in getting me into the study zone. Thank you for watching. Let me know if any of these particularly stand out for you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!